Yo, the sun. What the hell? Yo, the sun god is behind. Yo, Apollo. What is going on back there? Damn, I might be living in heaven, y'all. Oh my god. I've been playing fighting games for like 10 years now. From the moment I got access to the internet, I've been following the FGC, and once I was old enough, I started playing and competing myself. Now I'm in a position to check something off my bucket list and attend the biggest fighting game event of the year. Evolution 2026. But I'm not going alone. The person joining me on this journey is my dad. My dad has little to no experience with video games as a whole, let alone with fighting games. So, I took on the task of teaching my 64-year-old father all about fighting games so that he's ready for EVO 2026. So here's how that went. You want to say hi to YouTube?
Hi YouTube. Hope you guys have fun with this.
This is going to be fun. I'm really excited. This is going to be really funny. With that being said, is there anything you want to say to YouTube before we get started?
No. So, like, is this going to be, am I going to be able to use Mega Knight? And is this going to be the platform?
The first question is, what is a fighting game? A fighting game, in the most simple way I can describe it, is a genre of video game where you have at least two characters on the screen, and you just start boxing. In the most simple terms, that's what a fighting game is. Pretty much any game that involves any sort of fighting can be considered a fighting game. What are the rules of fighting games, right? Most of them are pretty straightforward. The goal is to reduce your opponent's health bar to 0. Okay? Before they do the same to you. If you do that, you can win a round. Depending on the game, you'll just win the game, flat out, right? Once you reduce your opponent's health bar to 0, you win. It's simple in concept, but once you start practicing it, it can get a little intricate. Okay?
Do I get the little health packs that float around like in
You do not. You do not. It is very rare that you can heal in a fighting game. Some games allow it. Some games have certain mechanics that can let you heal, but those are specific to certain games. It's not universal.
That's like the kiddie stuff.
I wouldn't say kiddie stuff.
Like, what's the movie with what's his name in it?
That it's they got the one.
No, the recent one with the guy.
Free Guy.
Free Guy.
Free Guy was awesome though. I watched a video on that.
He released some of the
yeah.
The guy went chasing after it.
I watched a video on Free Guy actually yesterday. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the rules of fighting game just reduce your opponent's health to 0 and you win by whatever means necessary, right? So let's go over the different types of fighting games. Right? Okay. Fighting game is a very broad genre, right? There are a bunch of different types of fighting games, like little subgenres that you can expect to see while you compete, right?
Okay.
The first is your most traditional fighting game in the most traditional sense is your 2D fighters. Okay, so this is Street Fighter 6. It's a 2D fighter. You can look over here.
Oh.
It's a 2D fighter, which means I didn't plug my controller in, but you can only move left and right. And once you get to a certain part, once you move far enough to the left or to the right, you'll hit a wall known as the corner, right? You can't go past the corner, so you don't have to worry about falling off the stage or anything like that.
Okay.
Right. Next type of fighting game you can expect to see a lot of is known as a platform fighter.
Oh, that's when you fall off.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm gonna go into training mode and Smash Ultimate here.
So now, that's the platform you fall off the world.
Yeah. So, platform fighters are a little different from your traditional fighting games, in the sense that your goal isn't necessarily to reduce your opponent's health bar to 0, but it is to deal a lot of damage to your opponent to the point where if they get launched by a certain move, they'll die and get sent off the side. So. That's the goal of platform fighters.
Okay.
You'll have a certain amount of lives in bracket. The tournament standard for this game is 3 lives or 3 stocks. Once you take all 3, you win the game. Yeah, the point of a platform fighter is you can fall off the side of the stage. That's how you die. So you have to use the limited amount of space and maneuver around platforms to get your hits.
Now, is that that's a controller game, right?
I play it on controller.
Any of these games like
Keyboard and mouse.
games? Yeah.
You
And
can.
Are they much more difficult to play?
You can play traditional fighting games on keyboard and mouse. I know players that do. A lot of it just kind of comes down to whatever console they're on, right? If you're playing a game like Street Fighter on PC, you can use keyboard and mouse if you want.
Okay.
We're gonna go over the different
Is it
controller
more
types
mouse
and
or more?
It's
keyboard?
way more controller or keyboard.
Okay.
You would use the mouse if you're playing a game where you had to like aim, but you're not really doing that.
Yeah,
in
you
Street
just
Fighter.
like striking it. Okay.
You're pressing buttons. Yeah. Third type of fighting game you're going to come into contact with is a 3D fighter. So this game right here is Tekken, right?
I heard of that. Tekken.
You've heard of Tekken. 2. It's an old, very old series. This is Tekken 8. This is the 8th
Damn,
one.
they got all the way to 8.
This is the 8th one. Now, because Tekken is a 3D fighter, you have the option to sidestep, right?
Okay.
Which means you don't have walls in the same sense that you would in like Street Fighter, because you can move, into the foreground and into the background. Okay. So that's the major difference with 3D fighters, is that you have a lot more space to maneuver, and the movement is a little different.
And you can strike from either the foreground or the background.
Essentially, the way it works is once you sidestep, the game pretty much auto corrects where you're facing. Okay. Just to keep everybody on the same plane. Now there are a bunch of other types of little subgenres for fighting games. We talked about platform fighters. There's such thing as arena fighters, which are a lot more like 3D fighters, but not as close in perspective. But you have arena fighters. There are anime fighters, which are most of the time 2D fighters, but with a more anime art style. And because they have a more anime sort of background, the mechanics are a little different.
Like a Dragon Ball game?
Like a Dragon Ball game, yeah. But yeah, there are a bunch of different types of fighting games. But the main type of fighting game we're going to be focusing on, for the most part, is your 2D fighters. I'm going to be competing in Street Fighter.
Okay.
If you want, you can compete in Street Fighter as well.
What other kind of games like Street Fighter are they?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd have to pull up.
And how many of them are you familiar with?
I mean, I'm familiar with a lot of fighting games, even if I haven't played them. Let's pull up the list. Okay, so this is the game list for EVO 2026. You can see Street Fighter 6 right here. This is what I'm going to be playing. I'm also going to be playing this one right here, Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising. Those are the games you can expect to see me competing in. A majority of these games are 2D fighters. Under Night is a 2D fighter.
Tekken 8.
Yeah. Tekken 8 is not a 2D fighter. Rivals of Aether 2, this one right here. This one is a platform fighter.
Okay.
So it's like Smash.
Okay.
And then Virtual Fighter is an arena fighter as well, I believe. Or not an arena fighter, a 3D fighter. But these are the main stage games at EVO. That doesn't mean these are the only games that are going to be at EVO. There's a whole list of like side brackets and games that aren't on the list here, but people will still play. Games like Dragon Ball Fighters. Dragon Ball Fighters isn't on the main list here, but people will host a side bracket for Dragon Ball because it's a really important game.
So now, how does that work? Is it are you gonna be competing in the same day or the 2 different days or?
That I actually don't know. It depends. Most of the time, it depends on the tournament. I've played in brackets where I played in 2 different games. I've done it before. It really just kind of says, oh, they'll like note, okay, you're in this game and you're in this game. So they'll call your matches for one game at a time. If I've got a match in Street Fighter, they're not going to tell me to play for Grand Blue. Most of the time, the 2 different games will happen at different times of the day.
Right.
So, like, Street Fighter might be in the morning, and Grand Blue might be in the evening.
Is it, like, a day's worth of events? Like, you got, like, say, like, you qualify or you win in Street Fighter, and then you win, then the next day you come back and play somebody else? Or,
yep, yeah.
And how far does that go? Is it, like, 2 rounds or 3 rounds?
Yeah, yeah. So that's actually a perfect segue. We're going to talk about tournament standard and what exactly it means to compete in a tournament. So, most tournaments, The rules are pretty straightforward. They're double elimination, right? Which means everybody starts in the winner side of bracket. When you lose, you get knocked down into the loser side of bracket, right? If you lose in losers, you're out of the tournament.
Got it.
So you've got 2 losses before you're done.
Start, yeah.
Right, yeah. As for the layout of the games itself, most traditional fighting games have what's known as a best of 5 format, which essentially means the first player, when 2 players sit down, first player to win 3 games wins the set and moves on to the next round. Like basketball.
Sport.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some games do what's called a best of 3, which is, a first to 2 wins. The
best
way
of 3, best of 5, best of 7.
we only do best of 3 and best of 5.
Okay.
Some players will do like a first to 5, but those are more for like informal things like money matches and stuff like that. The way you determine, for the most part, whether or not a game is going to be best of 3 or best of 5 is by the speed of the game. Games like Smash, for example. Smash is a really slow game where the meta, or like the most commonly accepted playstyle, is to sit back and wait for your opponent to make a mistake and then capitalize off it.
Okay. And in fast games, you got to be on the attack. And
Fast games, just a lot more decisions are being made, and so games tend to go by quicker, right? In those quicker games, it's usually going to be best of 5. Just because you get more opportunities to play the game. Plus, in those kinds of fast-paced games, longer sets are just more enjoyable to watch. Because you get to watch more of the game, right? In the slower-paced games, like Smash, if everything was a best of 5, because the game rewards that like slow playstyle so much, when you have longer sets, it ends up getting really boring.
Yeah, even playing it gets boring.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's the most common complaint right now with Smash, is that it is really boring to watch and really boring to play at a high level. Smash has this problem where it goes into this cycle where the game is really fun, and then as the game starts to reach the end of its lifespan, the meta goes to like a really slow playstyle. All Smash games end in that slow, really boring playstyle.
Like they run out of gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
The game runs out of gas.
The game runs out of gas. But most games at EVO were probably going to be best of 5. I personally like best of 5s more, just because it gives me more time to learn my opponent.
Yeah, because you get at least one game to figure them. Try to figure out.
Yeah, the more games you get to figure out your opponent, the higher level of gameplay you can achieve once you start playing to your opponent's habits. That's called adaptation. We're gonna get into adaptation a whole, way later.
Okay.
But for the sake of EVO, right? It's a double elimination bracket, which means you've got 2 losses before you're out of the tournament.
Right.
It's probably going to be best of 5, which means you have to win three matches in order to win your set. There's going to be a lot of players. So chances are you might not know who it is you're playing immediately.
I'm not going to know anyway.
You probably won't know anyway. But, maybe later in the series, we'll do a, like a history lesson on like the history of fighting games, and
maybe I could actually watch some individuals.
Yes, yeah, I can totally.
Do that.
Yeah, once you learn, the fundamentals of fighting games, I can totally send you some videos for like the character you want to play and stuff like that. But yeah, we could totally do like a history lesson. Let us know in the comments if you want us to do like a history lesson kind of video. That could be really fun. Yeah, but those are the rules of EVO.
Okay.
Right? Those are the rules of most fighting game tournaments, but that's what you can expect to see at EVO. Okay, let's go over how to actually play fighting games now.
Now, you're going to show me both keyboard and controller, or...
I'm going to show you...
Do I need to go buy a controller, or order one from Amazon?
You can if you want. I'm going to show you the different kinds of controllers that I have on me. And...
Another question about the controller.
Okay.
Now, the controllers, does that have to be hooked up to a console, or can you hook the controller up to your computer?
Well...
that depends on the game.
It does depend on the game, yes. But for the most part, you hook the controller up to whatever the setup you're playing at is. For example, today, right now, my setup, the console I'm playing this on is my computer.
Okay.
So I'll hook my controller up to my computer and start playing. When you go to Evo, the standard is PlayStation because Sony owns the whole thing. So you're gonna plug it into a PlayStation instead. Pretty much most controllers are wired. So what you'll do is you'll plug in, and then you'll set your keybinds or whatever, and you'll play. First thing I want to go over, right, controller wise.
Another question about the computer part. Like, will I be able to play this on my laptop upstairs, or is it not powerful enough? Or
maybe you might be able to run Street Fighter 6 on the lowest possible settings on your laptop. Okay. It's possible, but I wouldn't get your hopes up.
Okay, so it's not something I can practice, on the laptop.
Probably, I wouldn't recommend it either way.
Oh.
If you do want to practice, my computer's right here. And I'll give you my password, and you can hop in training mode and all that stuff. So, the first controller type I want to go over with you is your standard console controller. This is my PS5 controller, okay? Again, the tournament standard for most offline fighting game tournaments is on PlayStation. Okay. So, your standard PS5 controller works just fine, okay? This kind of layout for the controller, in the FGC, it's known as a pad. Okay? There are a bunch of different types of pads that have a similar layout. This is, my default PS5 controller is just one of them. Okay? Some people use like a wired pad. Others just use the straight up PS5 controller. It depends on preference. Cool thing about using a pad is it's pretty lightweight. I'd be flipping when I used to play Smash with like a wireless like Pro controller, and in between games, if I get mad, I would just like flip it and then start playing again. It's very lightweight, very compact. I could just throw this in my book bag and be, not have to worry about it at all.
Well, me throwing it.
Yeah, probably don't throw it. Yeah. You don't want to
Because sometimes the phone annoys me.
You can carry them pretty much wherever you go. They're super easy to use. You get a USB cable.
I think I've seen dude at work.
It's in my book bag. You'll take a normal USB. You'll plug it in here. Play the game. That's simple. Right? But that's a pad, right? Most people who are new to fighting games, they usually start on pad, just because it's the most accessible, right?
Right.
You have it at home. You probably, if you play video games, you probably already have one of these. It's pretty simple to get used to. You can use the analog stick here to move around.
Or you can use the button.
You can use the arrow keys. This is known as a D-pad. Okay. You can use the D-pad. This gives you a little more control because you can move exactly left and right.
Yeah, I know. I always used to fight with those things before.
Yeah, with the analog stick, there are times where you're holding a certain angle and you don't know exactly what angle you're holding because there's no way to tell. But some people use it. So this is the most basic form of a pad. Most pads, yep, you can hold it. Most pads, most decent pads you'd use in bracket, you could find them on Amazon for $30. Next, I'm gonna talk about this bad boy.
Oh no, the fight stick.
So this, let me hold it up to the camera. This way. This is an arcade stick, otherwise known as a fight stick. Now,
that's
why
the
is it?
Second one, right?
This is my second one.
Destroyed the first one.
I did not. Destroyed itself.
Okay.
Arcade stick. The reason it's called an arcade stick is because back when fighting games first came home, people were used to playing it at actual arcades, with the certain button layout and everything. So,
joystick.
Yep, with the joystick and everything. So when they came home, people were looking for that kind of comfort, and so they decided we're gonna bring the arcade format to your home.
That's why Pac-Man sucks, on your phone and all that, because you got no joystick and you gotta, and it's ridiculous trying to do that shit with buttons back and forth, up and down. No.
When people started competing for fighting games as well, they wanted that more comfortable feel, so people engineered the arcade stick to sort of emulate that feel, right? Now, most arcade sticks will sit on your lap, right? They're pretty long. They are harder to carry around for that reason. I'll be bringing the GameStop bag everywhere I go. But you can you can see all of the buttons that you're going to need are all in the face here. So you don't have to worry about anything extra back here or having to find certain buttons. They're all right here. Okay. It's the same buttons though. If you look, this one was made for PlayStation. So if you look at the inscriptions on the top, you'll see, you see the different buttons here. Those are the same buttons on the PS5 controller.
Oh, Oh, and then the other four that
these
way.
four are these four.
But why did they reverse it?
I don't know. That's just how they decided to label them. You can set them to whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah. What I want you to take note of, besides, hearing them, you can hear it. It sounds it's really satisfying to listen to.
I know, I hear it all night long. It's not a new sound.
I want you to go ahead and give it a few.
See, that is a big difference because when you're playing with the controller, I'm using my thumbs. And now I gotta use a different...
For this, you're using your whole arm, which is probably a little easier, just because, you get stuck on your fingers, you can, really build up that arthritis in your thumbs. I mean,
it seems like a right-handed,
Yeah.
You steer with your left and shoot with your right. But,
for the most part, yeah.
I'm probably the opposite, and I need to steer with my right and shoot with my left.
I don't even know. I don't know if they make sticks like that, but if they do.
But yeah, okay. And then you got buttons up here.
Yep. Yeah, these buttons are more for your settings, for the stick settings. So what I want you to pay attention to is the analog stick.
Okay.
So go ahead and give it a feel. You hear it clicking. It's really satisfying, isn't it? Go ahead and spin it in a circle. So can you feel the way...
I can feel the contact.
It stops? So those are called notches. Other controllers tend to have them, like GameCube controllers have notches. Essentially what they do is when you hit a concrete angle, the joystick, this is actually a joystick, will stop you and be like, hey, you hit this angle. That way, if you're doing a certain input, you know that you hit an angle. Whereas if you do it with this, if I tell you to hit a diagonal on this, you can estimate where it is.
Oh,
but
right,
on the joystick,
right.
You, can,
it tells
you know exactly where it is.
Oh, that's cool. It tells you basically where to go instead of guessing. And...
Instead of just trying to eyeball it.
Yeah.
You know exactly where it is. That's an angle. I could just tell. Right. That's the main reason why people tend to prefer joysticks over analog sticks, is because you have so much control over your input.
Yeah, because like I said, I tried to play Pac-Man,
Exactly, yeah. For
and
Pac-Man.
it's nah, I don't even want to bother with it. If I ain't got a joystick, I don't want to play it.
To use your whole arm instead of your fingers, instead of just your two thumbs, feels a lot better.
Oh yeah, especially with me, that's gonna wear out quick.
Yeah,
my thumbs are gonna go down quick.
The third type of controller that we can talk about is known as a leverless controller. Let me pull up what a leverless controller, looks like. So,
whoa,
this is a leverless controller.
Without the joystick?
This is the same layout as the arcade stick, but instead of a joystick,
you got buttons.
They have buttons for left, right, up, and down. The way most people understand it is this is a more portable version of just playing on keyboard. Because on keyboard you would use...
because that's what it seems like.
Yep. Yeah,
it's just a keyboard.
It is essentially just a keyboard.
Yeah, it's a game keyboard.
Yep. These are known as leverless controllers. The most common brand of these, it's up here, are your hitboxes.
Nah, give me the joystick.
You want a joystick?
Give me a joystick anytime, man.
Yeah, so...
And it's just that was one of the fun things about back in the days when I was a kid and when we were first doing all those shits. It was the joystick, man. It's especially I know motherfuckers they would get frustrated playing Pac-Man, and they would just lean on the joystick until they snap it, snap, and then nobody else can play and all that kind of stuff. But I've seen that plenty of times, man. And the first time I almost snapped one, just because you're playing by yourself, but you're trying to get there. Pow! Oh shit! Oh well.
Yeah, so that's what a leverless looks like. Most people use leverlesses.
Really?
A lot of people use leverlesses because if you really think about it, this is the most precise your inputs can get. There's no way you can't mess up. You can't tell if I'm playing and my controller's angled a little bit, because sometimes I'll be doing that by accident, and I think I'm holding back. I'm actually holding down back. and I'll mess up because I'm holding it at a different angle.
Okay.
You can't mess that up with this because you're just holding the left button, you know, or the up button or the down button. It makes it's your inputs are as precise as possible. Okay. But some people still prefer the joystick. A lot of it, and I cannot stress this enough, play with whatever it is, whatever controller you're most comfortable with. There is no such thing as the optimal controller in fighting games, okay? If people, you know, there are a bunch of players.
That's so many options.
Exactly. There are so many top players that play on pad. There are top players that play on arcade sticks. There are top players that play on leverless.
And even these things are set up in different formats. Basically.
Exactly. It does not matter what controller you play at. You can be good with any controller. I've seen somebody win a tournament set with the DK bongos. Let me pull them up.
DK Bongo.
DK Bongo controller.
It sounds like a...
I seen somebody win a fucking tournament set with these, bro.
How do you play with that?
Wow. People have won on these. People have won on... Let me find the Smash, the Hero controller.
Slime controller?
Look at this controller, bro. I've seen somebody win a set on this.
Y'all see this?
Yeah, see?
Yo, this shit, it looks like a Hershey's Kiss in blue.
A Hershey's, yeah, bro. It's based on it's based on the slime in one of the Dragon Quest games.
So is that part of it, or is that just like something that talks to you while you play, or what?
It's just a normal.
Because I see this one down here.
This is just the front of the controller. When you play, you're playing with the back. Look at it. Look at it. That's the front of the controller. You're playing with the back of it.
Oh, you turn it over.
Yeah.
Yo, what kind of weird...
But people win sets with this. This is what I'm saying. It does not matter what controller
like
you
fun,
use. It does. It is really funny.
It looks like fun.
And yeah, but it doesn't matter what controller you use. You got to play with what you're comfortable with. Okay. Yeah. So again, can't stress it enough. You can play with whatever controller you want. If you want to test certain controllers, I would not mind helping you with that. If you want to buy an arcade stick, I would not mind helping you with that. For anybody wondering, the arcade stick that I use, this is a Comba Titan. But I use a Comba Titan. This is an amazing stick. Shout out to Comba, please sponsor me.
Sponsor us.
But any questions so far? We've gone over all of the like outside stuff as far as playing fighting games is concerned. The next thing we're going to go over is what the actual game looks like. So it's me again. I forgot to record an outro. Oops. I recorded the first 2 parts of this series in one sitting. We did, rather. And so this first part is just kind of where I decided to cut it for today. There was no outro because we weren't done recording for the day. So I'm going to do that now. Hope you guys enjoyed. This was a lot of fun to make. Subscribe, turn on post notifications for part 2. It will come out soon, I promise. I've been kind of behind on a bunch of videos that I need to make. But in the meantime, leave a like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter if you don't catch the notifications on YouTube. That's where you'll find out when I upload. That's it. Bye, guys.